Hello, my name is John from Monostory, and today we're going to be talking about War of the Adults and my first thoughts. So let's get into it and find out what it's all about. The story is about a boy who is called Yutaro Urashima, and he is 15 years old. He wants to be an upstanding adult, and he writes this within his diary. During this moment, he sees there is a cat on the road and goes to save it, as it is about to be hit by a truck. In saving the cat, he is hit by the truck. He then wakes up in a coma 15 years later. And now the world around him is filled with cameras that can see your every move. Now, there are so many positives about this story that makes it so unique and so beautiful. And the first thing we need to talk about is just the premise of the story. Because using cameras to see what everybody is doing throughout the world and then acting upon that, whether it be through law or through good deeds, is a very unique situation. And what makes it so good is that it reflects what our reality is at this very moment, how we are slowly getting more and more cameras within our society where most things can be seen by other people, though it is still not live. It is more like CCTV cameras where it is after the fact that we get to see what has happened in those situations. And essentially what this story is telling us is a very similar dystopian or possibly even a reality in our future. The next big point I like to talk about is the characters. They are so beautifully written characters that are multi-layered. Our first and main character, Yutaro Urashima, is an amazing character. When comes from being 15 to 30, he is still in the mindset of a 15-year-old, but he has the access and abilities of a 30-year-old. So things such as being able to drink alcohol, what would that be like for someone with the mindset of a 15-year-old, but they are 30? Well, this story explains that to us, and it shows us how his character still reflects being a child in the body of an adult and how he deals with different things. And the most interesting thing is he still has the mindset of before cameras were very present in the society. So he has things where he will stand up for other characters and physically protect them using his fists. And in most cases, with cameras around, you don't want to do that. But in his case, he believes he is in the right, and he is proven to be right thanks to these cameras, where your life is dependent on what other people perceive, which again is very good by Yutaro Urashima, because he is a character that does the right thing no matter how he is perceived, and most people perceive his actions always, or in most cases, to be the correct actions. The next big main character is Isamu Kuroda. Now, this guy is a politician who brought in the idea of having the cameras all throughout Japan, and he consistently, as a politician, talks about how this is a positive thing for the society. And the idea he got for this was from the diary that Yutaro dropped 15 years ago, because the cat that he saved was Isamu's cat. So that's how these two characters are connected. And without Yutaro's writing, Isamu wouldn't have come up with the idea for cameras around Japan and having this sort of society. And it's very unique how he uses his power and way of thinking to explain to Yutaro how different the world has become in just 15 years since he's been in a coma. And he is a very mysterious character. We're not sure what his exact plan is yet, but it seems like it's very sinister, or he's a very bad character in terms of being the villain. And the last character that I believe to be interesting at this point of the story is Shinobu Inukai. And this character is a mentor to Yutaro who helps him throughout his journey and teaches him what he needs to do in order to achieve his goal, which is to go up the levels in the social class. And it's very interesting how he perceives this idea of cameras and how he helps Yutaro, explaining that he needs to do these certain things in order to get more likability, which will improve his level within the system. And also, he is one insanely good fighter. I've never seen someone punch as well as Shinobu can punch. When he punches someone, you know they're going to the floor afterwards. And that is just amazing writing. How all of these characters have so much left to tell us about who not only they are, but what their goals or mission is within the story. Which ties us into the world itself. It is a beautiful world that is our own world, but it's exploring this idea where cameras are in it, and it explains it in such a simplistic but yet mysterious way. For example, when we talk about the system, when you are born at a certain level in that system, and then afterwards, if you commit crimes, you are lowered in the system, and if you commit good deeds, you are put higher in the system. And so how it explains this is so interesting, how actions that you take within the world are going to affect your status, and your social class is also based on the job you do. So certain jobs will allow you to go up to certain higher status than other jobs. So it's a very unique system where it isn't based upon your ability or your work, but rather, again, how you are perceived by others, which is very fascinating when you think about how our world is built on hard work, determination, and now it is being built in this story through the perception of what other people think of you. Though that isn't really that unrealistic. I mean, sometimes it isn't based on how good you are at the job, but rather who you know within the company that will get you higher up in that company. And the last and beautiful thing I like to talk about is just the art style. It's very easy to understand. It's very beautiful, well drawn. Some of the most expressive drawings I've seen. And they really do bring out the characters and that intensity, especially during some scenes that are very, very intense. Now, there aren't too many negatives so far with the story, as it's very early on and there is really a lot of things to enjoy about this story. The only thing I do dislike about it is how the start of it is very hard to get an understanding of what the premise of the story is. It takes a bit of time to get into it, but once you are there around like maybe chapter 6 or 7 and you start the arc where he goes to a club, you've got a bit of an idea of what's happening within the story, because you've gone through him waking up and going through the world now and exploring it for the first time, and then going to his first job within this world and having to deal with these sorts of customers or people that are using this sort of society to improve their own lives by using others. And they can't really do much about it because they're being filmed on camera. So by the time you get to chapter 7, where you are starting this arc about Yutaro going to the club for the first time, it is a bit slow. So it's about the first volume, roughly. But once you're at the club, that's where things literally pop off. So just hang in there, read past that, and you will enjoy. If you don't enjoy it before that, you will enjoy it after you've read that arc. Let me tell you, it was the arc that changed me. I literally could not put down the manga until I finished that arc. Now again, what makes this story so similar to Death Note in the way it is written and the way it is perceived is that it uses realism to convey its story. So there is no power abilities like in Dragon Ball Z. You have things like Super Saiyan, you have things like Kaioken, you have things like the Kamehameha Wave, you have things like Gallic Gun, etc. These things do not exist in this world of the War of the Adults, so they are just using their bodies in their fighting. So it's more based upon the scene and how they utilize the situation and that specific action and build intensity on it. So a simple thing would be an arm wrestling match became something way bigger than it needed to be. The word ban, the simple word ban, when it is said, can ruin one person's life. And so just having that situation and the intensity when the person says that word is unbelievable. And this is similar to Death Note because there are things like the chip scene where Kira is eating a chip while he is writing in the Death Note. That moment is not only one of the most well-known moments in Death Note, but it is also one of the most basic but yet intense moments, because we all are able to eat chips, but looking at it in that situation, it is so intense every time he takes a bite of one of them. And that is what War of the Adults also does. It takes a simple scene and it makes it intense, even though in your reality, those scenes are just boring, vague, and not really important. But War of the Adults shows you it is one of the most important moments, potentially. And that is what makes it so good and even similar to Death Note.
There is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
That is my thoughts on War of the Adults, one of the most interesting manga I have seen so far, where it takes a simple premise and it expands upon it and shows us just how dystopian or potential realistic the future could be if this was a possibility. And what I love the most about it is just Yutaro Urashima is an actually interesting character that is flung into this world that he is now the centerpiece of. And he is now caught between two factions, and that is going to even get so much more interesting coming up in the next volume and further on in the story. This is a must read. You should definitely either buy it, read it, I don't care how, but you need to understand or consume this story. This is one of the best stories I've seen in a very long time. I'm going to do everything in my power with what I have available to me to keep telling this beautiful story as it comes out and giving my opinion on it, because this story, as long as it's around, is one of my favorite stories that has come out in a long time. And I will do everything to keep it going before it gets cancelled. Shueisha, I'm telling you right now, this is never getting cancelled until they finish the story. This is going to the end. This is one of the best stories. And if I find out you're cancelling this story for some weird manga that no one cares about, well, guess what? You're going to be hearing it from me in another video. And it's going to be absolutely the most loudest I've ever been. No one is cancelling or axing War of the Adults. You got that, Shueisha? No one. But look, that's my opinion. I want to hear what you think about War of the Adults if you've read it. And if not, why do you think you will read it? So please, write that down in the comment section below. And I want to thank you all for watching today's video. If you haven't already liked, subscribed and pressed the bell button, please do so. And if you want to keep on watching on this channel, please click a video up above. If not, my name is John from Mono Story, and until next time, I will see you on another Mono Story.